The movie begins with a spaceship landing on the surface of an unknown planet. An astronaut steps out carrying an American flag to stake claim on this new world. Back on Earth, a young man named Aiden sits in a bathtub, holding his breath. On a small table nearby, bottles of medication are scattered and a ringing phone goes ignored. Later, as he starts his day, he gets dressed, has breakfast, and drinks coffee. When the phone rings again, this time the caller ID shows something unexpected: the office of his long-deceased father. Surprised, Aiden hops on his motorcycle and heads to a NASA facility. There he meets Joseph Sharp and Robert McGrady, who worked closely with his father, Crawford. They comment on Aiden's tardiness, joking about how he's nothing like his father. Once Aiden arrives, Sharp introduces himself and explains the urgency of their meeting. Crawford, they reveal, was a brilliant scientist and pilot who left behind groundbreaking work in space exploration. They show Aiden a case containing his father's invention, the neuroinhibitor, a device designed to interface with the subconscious mind. Aiden's emotions boil over. He's angry, accusing them of acting as if Crawford was still alive, even though he and his mother had mourned him after a funeral. Aiden recalls how his father had been absent for most of his life, prioritizing work over family and missing important milestones. He doesn't understand why he's been summoned, but Sharp and McGrady reveal a shocking truth. Crawford's research continued even after his disappearance, and the neuroinhibitor was key to that. The technology they claim is alien in origin, and Crawford might still be alive. Aiden is stunned. He questions how this is possible, given that he saw his father's casket. The agents explain that Crawford had arranged his own funeral as a contingency, uncertain if he'd ever return. They begin to recount Crawford's story, starting with his classified mission to Mars. Alongside his co-pilot Susan, Crawford discovered that Mars was uninhabitable. Refusing to accept failure, Susan chose to stay behind, continuing her research until her supplies ran out. Her body was never recovered. Racked with guilt, Crawford returned to Earth and began working on safer methods of space exploration, leading to the creation of the neuroinhibitor. As the agents elaborate, Aiden remembers his father watching him one night as a child, a rare expression of joy on his face. He realizes now that his father had been keeping extraordinary secrets from him. The agents explain that Crawford's consciousness, not his physical body, had been traveling through space using the neuroinhibitor. His body remained at NASA until it decayed. They describe how the human brain processes sensory information faster than light, a concept Crawford used to explore planets without physical travel. Through the neuroinhibitor, he built colonies and made contact with alien species, but now his consciousness is trapped within the device. The agents reveal Earth's dire situation: overpopulation, food shortages, and environmental collapse. They share Crawford's belief that humanity's future lies on another planet. For years, he communicated with NASA through the neuroinhibitor, but contact abruptly stopped 3 weeks ago. Around the same time, an alien attack occurred on a distant planet, NP-22, where Crawford and other researchers were stationed. The agents believe Aiden is the key to uncovering what happened. Aiden is skeptical, reminding them that he's neither a scientist nor a pilot. However, they insist he is his father's son and the only one capable of continuing Crawford's mission. They also reveal that years ago, after a car accident left Aiden unconscious, Crawford secretly implanted a chip in his neck, enabling him to connect to the neuroinhibitor. As Aiden reflects on the conversation, he imagines his father and Susan on Mars celebrating a discovery. His daydream is interrupted by his psychiatrist, who notes that Aiden has stopped taking his medication. For the first time, he opens up about his father, someone he had tried to erase from his memory. When asked what he hopes to achieve, Aiden confesses that he feels as though he's losing his mind. Just as Aiden hints at taking an extraordinary step, his psychiatrist misinterprets it as a sign of self-harm. Without offering further explanation, he abruptly leaves the session. Back at home, Aiden is struck by a vivid memory of an operating room, a vision that leaves him restless. Emerging from the bathtub, where he often seeks solace, he feels unusually agitated. He picks up a bottle of pills, but in a moment of resolve, decides against taking them. Meanwhile, Sharp briefs his superiors on Aiden's potential to follow in his father's footsteps and become humanity's savior. He shares the last transmission Crawford managed to send, a video feed of the Andromeda system, which revealed it to be far larger and more complex than previously believed. The transmission also highlighted the dark side of NP-22, where a distress signal originates, one that only Aiden can investigate. Sharp deciphers another cryptic message from the transmission. A robot warns of a universal dictator disguised as an explorer bent on destruction, enslavement, or annihilation. This raises fears of a hidden threat, prompting Sharp's superior to stress the importance of convincing Aiden to take on the mission. The next day, Aiden arrives late once more, heightening doubts among the agents about whether he'll accept the perilous task. To their surprise, Aiden shows up and agrees. He is then guided to a simulator, where the team outlines the mission process. Once Aiden reaches the planet, he will find a clear sky at the landing zone. Though he won't need to breathe, he'll still feel the effects of the simulated environment. His father's custom-built spacecraft will account for critical factors such as artificial gravity, though areas like the airlock will lack it. Inside the simulator, Aiden dons a white suit, another of Crawford's innovations designed to provide self-defense capabilities, an essential feature for space exploration. The training proceeds to the cosmic jump. Aiden makes the leap, albeit clumsily, and finds himself overlooking a frozen planet his father had named Cerberus. From above, he observes its ice-covered terrain before landing to explore the breathtaking environment. Sharp explains that the atmosphere is rich in radon, a gas lethal to humans within seconds of exposure. As Aiden ventures through the icy mountains, he marvels at the planet's beauty and its Earth-like features. He soon stumbles upon a field of flowers, an alluring but deadly landscape where every plant is toxic to humans. Unexpectedly, Aiden finds himself on an escalator, a signal that the simulation is ending. If he stays too long, he risks being trapped indefinitely. Exiting the simulator, Aiden learns that the entire training program was derived from his father's mind through the neuroinhibitor. Next time, however, it will be real. On MP-22, he is warned not to interact with memory projections, figures created by recollections. While Aiden will be able to see these projections, they won't perceive or touch him. Curious about how his father kept such groundbreaking discoveries secret, Aiden learns the truth. Crawford had reported his findings to the president, who deemed the project too expensive to scale for Earth's population. Consequently, the initiative was shut down, leaving only 2 employees to continue the work in secrecy. The following day, Aiden revisits his psychiatrist. She expresses concern about his mental state and suggests a new treatment, but Aiden, in an uncharacteristic shift, begins talking about overpopulation and how his father had already solved the problem. He cryptically states that everything humanity knows is nearing its end, paving the way for a new beginning. At home, Aiden takes a decisive step, pouring his pills into the sink and flushing them away. Later, he visits NASA requesting access to the neuroinhibitor to relive his father's memories. After some deliberation, Aiden is granted access and finds himself in a vivid memory. A younger version of himself watches cartoons as his father, Crawford, returns from work. When the boy runs off, leaving adult Aiden alone with his father, the memory takes an unexpected turn. Crawford addresses him directly. Crawford speaks of extraordinary technologies far beyond humanity's current capabilities and an existence so intricate that it defies human understanding. He claims that in this realm, the only way to communicate is through violence. He confesses to sacrificing his family in the pursuit of a new home for humanity, yet insists that everything he did was for Aiden. Struggling to accept his father's words, Aiden admits to his nightly battles with suicidal thoughts and his reliance on therapy and medication to cope. Crawford, however, is adamant that Aiden is destined for greatness, to help others and lead humanity into the future. Crawford describes the advanced defense systems, weaponry, and spacecraft he created, detailing how he monitored alien species who view humanity as insignificant. He reveals the existence of the 5th dimension, where time can be perceived by humanity's enemies, even if it remains invisible to humans. Crawford warns of an unfathomably advanced species inhabiting MP-22, who have made Andromeda their home and will not tolerate humanity's presence there. Before Crawford can elaborate, the simulation abruptly ends and Aiden is ejected. Back in reality, McGrady informs Aiden that Crawford reprogrammed his beacon to make it untraceable after his disappearance. Aiden, now more resolved, visits his psychiatrist again. He dismisses his struggles as trivial compared to what the human mind is truly capable of and declares his willingness to take a risk. The psychiatrist wishes him luck, and the next day, Aiden begins his mission to MP-22. As Aiden arrives on the planet, he observes the colony and its inhabitants' projections. The structures remain intact, suggesting the attack has not yet occurred. When one of the projections moves toward him, Aiden realizes it cannot see him. Directed by the agents, he begins photographing the greenhouses. However, the sensors malfunction and Aiden notices ominous robots lurking nearby. He tries to warn the projections, but his efforts are futile. They cannot perceive him. Frustrated, he removes his visor and reports seeing an enemy force. Sharp reminds him that these projections are merely echoes of the past. People who completed their mission and proved humanity could survive on MP-22. But the enemies will not allow humanity to settle. They will attack relentlessly. Aiden recalls his father's warning to search for another planet, but he is offered one last chance to prevent the invasion. He returns to MP-22, tasked with defending it and escaping unharmed. The mission, however, fails. The invasion unfolds too rapidly, disrupting communications. Surrounded by hostile forces, Aiden is killed, his lifeless body left on the distant planet. NASA fabricates his death, reporting that he drowned in his bathtub. His psychiatrist waits for their next session in vain. Sharp reports the failed mission to his superiors, noting an unreadable signal from NP-22 and speculating that Crawford orchestrated everything. He believes one projection might still be alive. Despite his concerns, Sharp is ordered to destroy all evidence of the project. At that moment, a message arrives from Aiden. He reveals that he and his father are alive. Crawford, anticipating the attack, reprogrammed the inhibitors, enabling the researchers to reconstruct themselves and escape. They have found a new planet, rich in space, life, resources, and time. Aiden concludes by stating that if humanity proves worthy of salvation, they will be waiting.